Yo, what is up, guys? Welcome to the Tony and Dakota podcast. Today we have a guest that traveled to get here.
Yeah, he's not too far away. He's over in Columbus, Ohio. I can't remember the name of the little city. Was it like Maryville or
Marysville.
something? Marysville. There we go. This is Charlie Scheiderer. He is in my accountability group. So I talk with him once a week as part of Wealthy Investor. I'm one of the Wealthy Investor accountability coaches. Really, during those calls, I'm mostly just figuring out what people are doing to find deals, what people are doing to find money, how they're creating processes, and if they're hiring people. Every time I talk to Charlie, he seems stressed out, and he seems stressed out because it seems like he's growing and he's pushing and grinding and doing all the things that are necessary to grow. So it's really cool. Charlie's one of the dudes in there who's listening and taking action on things immediately. Really appreciate this dude and glad that he came into the office today to do a podcast with us.
Yeah. Thank you, guys. And it's awesome what you guys are doing here, everything you're teaching. And then, the accountability groups have just been really, really good for me. And your guys' course, it's helping so many people. And also your meetups, helping a ton of people too. So thanks for that.
So, Charlie, you are pretty young. You're only 22. And you probably spent over $22K joining the mastermind. How much was the mastermind for you?
It was over $20K, but
bro, nobody your age decides like, oh, it's a great idea to spend $20,000 on education.
Yeah.
How? Why? Why did you do that? I mean,
that's just the mindset that I've got shifted into. That's definitely something 2 to 3 years ago when I was in high school. I would have never thought I would invest any money in any education after high school. But it's already paid off, just like investing in houses. I think the best investment is in yourself. Even these houses are doing great returns, but, the investment you're putting into yourself is just infinity. So.
It looked like you had your GC license and your realtor's license. And so up until that point, did you just like borrow daddy's money or like how do you
Yeah.
How did you get the money to join the mastermind? Did you have the cash?
So basically I got out of high school and I read Rich Dad Poor Dad in high school. And from there I started working in the trade. So I was an electrician for IBEW. So I was in the union. I did that for 3 years, but I think my second year, I was 19, I bought a triplex, and one unit was like pretty much gutted. So I bought that, house hacked it, got a good loan on it, and fixed it up, everything myself, which I was able to learn. I grew up on a farm, so I was able to learn a lot of trades through that. And then just being in the electrical field, I was able to learn that. So fixed it up, moved into it, hit cash flowed, paid for my living expenses from day one. So just right there, I knocked off a bunch. And then, since I've been 12, I grew up on a greenhouse and a farm, so I've been saving money. I never really spent money on anything. Grew up in a small town, so we don't really spend much. And my parents always taught me to save money. So, I got 18. I had a pretty good sum made up, so I bought that one. And then, 6 months later, I bought another fourplex from that same guy off market. And then from there, I started buying distressed properties, fixing them up, living in some of them, and really starting to make a little bit more money to keep putting into properties.
What'd your parents think whenever you're like, all right, I'm going to go spend a bunch of money on this program? What did they say then?
My parents don't really know the program.
I was like, he didn't tell them how much it cost.
No. I haven't really told anybody about the program.
Charlie Scheiderer spent $20,000 plus
Yeah.
on
but
a mastermind.
It's all paid off. So
100%.
Yeah. It's already made that much. So.
Yep. Well, now you can tell your parents about it then.
Yeah.
So see what they say now. What do you think, just out of curiosity, what do you think they would say if they knew how much you spent before you, because dude, everybody, after you already achieve it, then they're like, oh yeah, obviously that made sense. You go get a coach, you figure it out. What do you think they would have said before?
Well, yeah. So my parents have been awesome. I had a great upbringing. They own a business, a greenhouse, so they are a little more business minded.
Yep.
So they wouldn't think it's crazy. They'd probably think the number's a little crazy. Anybody might think that. But what do I think they thought before? Probably everybody would have thought I'm crazy. But we've done some houses, and I think people are starting to see that there is a way to make money that's not working for someone else. So.
Yep. That's awesome. Yeah, because that's what most people say to us too, is like, you can go on YouTube, you can get all this information, and like, you can find out all this stuff for free. And information is so readily available. But it's interesting that, well, actually, I'm curious what your thoughts are. What do you think about like, the program versus, let's say, a college?
So, I mean, first off, I'd say the program, just for the knowledge base, you can learn most of it on YouTube. I would say anybody can go learn anything on YouTube. That especially that a college would even teach. But I would say the big thing about these types of groups are like the accountability that's Tony's doing and the events. Networking has made me all the money I've ever made. Just being able to know people is just so much more valuable than everyone takes granted for. But what was your question for the event?
Yeah, I mean, like, I feel like whenever people are going to spend money on a program, it's $25,000. They're like, dude, that is insane.
Yeah.
Like, that's so much money. Then you say, yeah, I spent $50,000 on college. Oh yeah, that's for 1 year?
No,
oh
for
yeah,
sure.
you know what I mean? Like, and then it's not a big deal because it's so socially acceptable.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to know what you thought was the differences, like the main differences and the values, and just your general thoughts about it.
Yeah, so I was going to go to college for like an ag degree or something, ag business, and, see where that led me. But it's crazy that anybody can go get a loan for college for $200,000 and pay low interest, and the government's giving that out. But then, it's real difficult to go buy a house and fix it up and make twice as much as what you bought it for. So just investing in the program versus college, that would be something that the person should figure out if they're going to take that course and actually put it into play. But I mean, a lot of these kids are getting college paid for by their parents, and that's what their parents believe in. So I think definitely if you can figure out a way to put it into a course or something that you're actually interested in, I think if you actually have a passion for it, you're going to do a lot more than anything you're going to go to college for. Unless you have a passion for that, then that's cool. But if you don't, then I would definitely figure out what you want to do or what you think seems cool and what you'd actually work for, and then put that in. Because if you actually have a passion for it, it's going to return 100% more than something you don't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the wealthy investor isn't so much implementation, which is like an area where I still feel like it's lacking a little bit. Like, nobody's going to do anything for you. However, you do have a lot of people who are in the same exact business as you, solving the same exact problems that you're having. And so you have these guys who are specialists, like Dakota's a sales specialist. I feel like I'm good at figuring out just base principles, like the 1, 2, 3 main things that you should be focusing on, and figuring out how to just do niche problem solving so that, you've taken action on all of the things that I've told you to do. And like in a really short period of time, you've started to scale your business already. Like, you've already seen it happening.
Yeah. And I mean, through the program, you get to see all these businesses and you get to learn from the business and implement what you think you can implement into your business. And then I think just getting that 1% better every day and implementing one thing a week is just going to totally change the game for you. And being in this group has just let me see all these guys doing way more than I knew was even possible. I thought that was something, doing one house a year, and then you realize that, you should be doing a lot of deals every week. So that's something I'm shooting for.
That's the biggest thing that we found too, is that like it helps put in perspective that no matter how big you are, you're not that big, because there's somebody doing a lot more. And then also it helps you put into perspective, especially when you're in a small town. Like, we're in the Midwest, you know what I mean? So you do one flip a year, you make 60, 50, doesn't matter. You make $50,000. People are like, holy crap, that's more than I've ever made in an entire year. And you did it on one property. So then like you go, somewhere else where they're doing that many, and you're like, wow, this really puts into perspective about what's possible. But what do you think is the difference? Because obviously there's other people that go into Wealthy Investor who don't do well, who don't succeed. Same thing with college. There's people who go spend all this money, get the education, they know everything, but then they don't do anything with it. So what do you think is the difference between you and all the other people that join the program and then haven't done anything with it?
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't say I'm doing anything great, but definitely something I'm working on improving is is getting that focus down. I think that was a big bottleneck for me. Is you can get into programs like this and go 20 different ways. Like Ryan's put so many different courses in here now, which is awesome. But one thing you got to focus on is building up your business, or that part of your business that you need to do to get to the next step. Because I think there's a lot of different steps in businesses, and if you try and build a bunch of different bridges, which is what I've done a lot in the past, you're just not really going to get anywhere. You're going to have a bunch of half-built bridges. But if you can get one bridge built, then you can just keep applying from that. Like getting the 1% better every day, that just that multiplies. So
yeah, that was kind of funny because it sounds similar to something that some bad advice that was out there. Like Ty Lopez was like, you need 8 different streams of income. And then a lot of younger people, there was a dad who brought his son and was like, tell him that he only needs one business. And we were kind of like, yeah, I mean, if you can get multiple streams of income going, great. For the most part, it makes sense to create a good foundation and like scale your existing business. And then as you see needs, because once you get into a field, you start to experience problems and you're like, wow, I could fix that just with this one thing. I feel like that's when you start to create those additional sources of income. It's just when you're like, hey, people are taking us out to lunch and want to learn about real estate. We should probably just create a course so we can send that to them and just be like, hey, this is 9 to 10 hours of what we know, instead of like an hour over lunch while we're eating, talking about family and stuff like that too.
Yeah, for sure. That's awesome. And then, just like, I know you guys are part of Ed Milet and Andy Frisella's group, Arte, and then they always say like, you need to start with that one income, and the other ones will come. They own a ton of different businesses, but they grinded on one for a long time. And once you have one foundation good, you start building connections, and that's just going to branch off. And you guys have seen it. You guys are killing it. So you're getting a bunch of different offers from everybody. So pretty great.
We've got a lot of people in the Fort Wayne RIA who haven't done their first deal yet. Like they've been coming to our meetings. We've had like 5 or 6 meetings now at this point. And so you're a lot closer to your first deal. We still remember our first deal, but we're not as close like mentally and emotionally to it. You seem a little bit different from most people because you jumped in super young. Do you remember feeling doubts, like if it was actually going to work, or what happens if you lose money?
Yeah.
Did you consider all of the downside?
I was so young then and wasn't married that, and it was a great deal that I bought the first one. But
Did you say wasn't married?
I was
He's
not
married already.
Nice.
He's done all the stuff. Charlie's a grown-ass adult.
My first deal, it was a really good deal. I try to think back about the fears that I had, and I think it was mainly just like I'm putting a lot of money in. But luckily, money to that point wasn't like a big part of my life. I was just saving it. So I don't think I had like what the world teaches you already, like just stressing about money. You got all these payments, and I just think of money in a different form than, the cash that is not really connected to anything. I think of it more as like energy. So I'm putting this into a property and it's going to grow like crazy, or I could keep it in the bank and it's going to lose energy every month, especially right now with inflation. But I mean, on that first deal, I was definitely nervous about fixing up the property, but the numbers looked really good and I just dove in, and it's been great ever since.
Pulling data lists like vacant houses, mortgage foreclosures, and tax delinquent properties is important to direct-to-seller marketing.
Batch Leads is the main platform where we store our sellers' data and skip trace owners for their phone numbers, emails, and addresses.
On other platforms, you end up having to pay twice for the same contact if you've already skip traced it. My favorite thing about Batch Leads is that if you've skip traced a contact once, you never have to pay for that contact again.
Batch Leads has SMS texting campaigns, direct mail marketing, and Driving for Dollars app integrated in a simple-to-use interface.
Click the link below and try Batch Leads today.
Give us more details on that first property. Did you know it was such a great deal when you first got it, and like how did you know if this is your first deal? Because like what we found is even on our first deal is a great deal.
Yeah.
We still were like, I don't know, it's our first deal.
So I was networking a lot then. I actually met, and there aren't many investors in Marysville, but I talked to a few that own some properties to learn. which was a big help. But one of them sent out like 50 mailers handwritten, which I thought was like crazy. I thought that was awesome, but which it was. But he sent it to my dad's buddy of some sort, and he was good with that offer. But then my dad knew that I was interested, and he always wanted to invest in real estate when he was young, but he never pulled the trigger. But that guy told me he'd sell me the house for the same price if I could get him the money. So I went and got a loan. So in that instance, I knew the 1% rule. It was full of bigger pockets. So I knew all the numbers. I had to calculate.
Break down the numbers for us.
So it was like, I'm trying to think now. I bought it for $220.
Jeez, on your first one?
Yeah, triplex.
$220 or
$220,000. It was a triplex.
And he wasn't scared?
They rented. They had the rents pretty low. They hadn't raised them in a while. So one was like 800. One was at 650 still with an older lady. And then the middle one was getting remodeled, and he didn't really have time to finish it, and his back was hurting, and he had to get surgery. So he's getting these two off his plate. So it was a perfect setup. And basically, I knew I would make more than the 1% rule on rent. And I knew I could bump the rents up to at least 800. So I bought it for 240, fixed up the other unit, lived in it. It cash flowed probably $100 after even paying for my rent on it.
you got a traditional mortgage?
Yeah, so I actually put 20% down, which I regret, but I got some good equity in that. And that 220 has grown. It's worth about 350 right now.
You got a 30-year note on that?
Yeah, I got it.
Because you were going to live in it as your personal home. So this was your first house ever.
Yeah.
You put 20% down, which is freaking crazy.
How much is that?
As an 18-year-old, 19-year-old, 20-year-old?
Did you buy it for 220 or 240?
220.
Okay.
Did I say 240?
You said two different numbers, but so.
Well, the other one I bought for 340, so I get this mixed
Gotcha,
up.
no worries. So
Yeah, yeah.
$44,000.
Yeah.
And you had that as, how old were you when you bought it?
19.
You had that as a 19-year-old sit in the bank.
Yeah, I did. But that was almost all of it.
I was almost
How did you get to that point? Because, okay, so you graduated high school and you just went straight into being a general contractor or straight into
No.
being a realtor?
I was an electrician, straight out of high school.
Electrician.
So I joined the summer, I got out. My uncle had told me to go into that. And yeah,
So you're making $50 an hour?
I was making like 17.
17?
I took a pay cut from what I was making at the greenhouse because I was running a lot of the greenhouse.
Okay.
So I worked on a farm, which my grandpa died, so I took over like a quarter of the farm. Mm-hmm. So I got that. I learned about putting money into
You
something.
inherited a little bit?
Inherited?
Yeah, you said
No, I didn't get the land. I just got the farm with this equipment.
You just got the labor.
Yeah. No, so I could use his tractors and stuff. But I mean, I learned that you could put seed in the ground and you could return for more than you put it in. So
how did you come up with $44,000?
So I worked since I was like 12, but I just saved that my whole life. I never
throwing
really
money
spent
back?
money. The only money I spent was cash that I had. So I always went into a bank. I never even really knew I had a bank account until I was like 16. But yeah.
So your first deal, you bought for $220,000, and you didn't have any fear about it at all, and putting down 44 grand.
I mean, I had read so many books up to that point that I was ready to go. And then I heard a lot about people, pulling back and not just getting into, what's that called? When you just get into like just trying to learn and you're not actually putting anything into action. But I mean, I just felt like I had to jump. Like I said, that 40 grand, I didn't even really think of anything. I didn't pay rent at the time, so it wasn't like I needed cash every day, and I had a stable job. So
that's awesome.
I knew I could sell it for more probably as soon as I fixed up the one. So if I ever did have to get out of it, and just sell it.
Did you do any sports or anything in high school?
Yeah, so I played football and basketball pretty much my whole. Yeah, I think I was gonna play in college, but I said if I didn't get to D1, I wouldn't play. So I didn't get there.
So how did you build so much confidence? Do you think that your parents had something to do with it, or?
Yeah. I mean, I had a really good upbringing, like I said, but just being able to grow up on the farm and we have a really tight family, so just I had a great upbringing. I wouldn't change anything on that. But I was always like a captain on our football team. I started varsity when I was like a sophomore, got all state all 3 of those years. So I'm not a great leader, but I always led by my actions. I was never good at, bringing people up with me, but I always worked harder than everybody else, I'd say. And I always knew I could. Even if I didn't have the skill, I could always work harder.
I think one thing that I think about there that I've explained to people and I don't think they 100% get is when I think about money, it's interesting that whenever we started the LLC, the money almost felt more fake. Even when it was my money that like lent to the company, it still felt more like monopoly money at that point. It just felt like it was all hypothetical, made up numbers, and like
it is all fake in reality.
True.
It's not backed by anything.
Exactly. So that's true. It's just interesting how people have such an emotional attachment, and until you can detach yourself from the emotions of it, I think it is very difficult.
Yeah.
I've not seen very many people be able to do that at a young age, especially that early when you're unsure of stuff.
I think the big thing is they do get into that W-2, and if you don't have much saved up, you're living paycheck to paycheck. I think like Kevin O'Leary says, like a salary is what is they pay you just enough to forget your dreams. So I mean, and I've been in that mindset. Like you got to get out of it. But if you're living paycheck to paycheck, you can't think, oh, what can I do to increase this? What can I put in this corner to grow without me working hourly? And I think just getting out of that hourly mindset is something that's really impactful.
So what's the mindset that people should get into, in your opinion? Then instead of that mindset, what's the alternative?
From working hourly?
Yeah. From saving.
Yeah, I mean, just using your cash to grow something.
What cash though? If they're living paycheck to paycheck, they don't have any cash.
I guess making energy. So if you don't have cash, you have time and you have commitment. So I was working I didn't go to high school my junior and senior year because I took college classes online because I knew I could work 40-hour weeks if I did that. So I didn't go to high school. I didn't get to like enjoy the junior and senior year where you do nothing in high school, which everybody loves. But I wasn't about that. Even when I didn't invest, but you always have something. You can either have cash in the bank, or you can have commitment and your time, and you can make that work in other areas. So like a wholesaler, a lot of people start in wholesaling if they don't have any money. You can go get a deal by calling a bunch of people and locking in that first deal, even if you don't have money. So saying you don't have cash isn't really an excuse, because you just need to be working after your job and building up that cash, which you can then put into either yourself by investing in programs, or you can put into a house, or you can put into a business and make it grow. And you're going to lose money and always lose money. I've lost money in several deals, but I've gained a lot of money in others deals, and that's where you learn, I think. So
one main thing that you keep talking about, actually, that I hope people catch this, is that you're educating yourself. You said, I read Rich Dad Poor Dad. You said, I read all these books. That's what gave you the confidence.
Bigger Pockets.
Yeah, all of that stuff. So that's what gave you the confidence in order to do this stuff. It's amazing how much education, if you know, dude, this makes sense on every math thing that I'm looking at, even when you start to have that doubt, when you start to think, I don't know if this is a good deal or not, you know, based on all of the information, and you can't even convince yourself not to do it at that point, because all the education says this is a deal. And so what is the thing that's holding me back? It's my own fears, my own insecurities. So something that it sounds like you've been doing your whole life is educating yourself. So when you didn't have money, when you were working hard, you were still like pushing in other areas to read books, even while you're doing all of this stuff. So
and I mean, the whole time I was working that W-2 for like 3 years, I literally was listening to podcasts on the way to work, on the way back to work, during work sometimes, and Bigger Pockets was a big help. I'd always listen to their podcast, and they'd always have people doing big things in real estate. And just after hearing that so many times, there's only so many things you can do. I mean, once you get that bug, I feel like it's hard to turn off.
Yeah, and I think some people listen for longer than others. Like Tony listened to books about it for what, 4 or 5 years?
Yeah.
And then I listened for 3. And maybe it was 2. I can't remember. It was either 2 or 3. But either way, eventually, like, it's crazy how we kind of brainwash ourselves. Like, so if you listen to that stuff enough, just like if you're in the program for long enough, you can't be in that environment. You can't listen to that stuff and then like see all these opportunities. It just basically opens your perspective. And it's actually more difficult to not do something with the information than it is to do it. Like you're just, it literally conflicts with you on the inside. Like I know that we started feeling that like, dude, we got to do something with this information. We can't just keep learning. And I don't know if that's the way you feel. You're like, dude, I got to do something. And then now you already made the decision and then you figured it out.
Have you been thinking about investing in real estate?
It's not like what you see on HGTV.
We created a course to show you how to really invest and create a profitable flipping and wholesaling business.
We show you where to find the money, how to find the deals, and how to negotiate the deals.
We go over live sales calls, including negotiations, scripts, role-playing, and so much more.
Everything that you need to know to flip houses is in this course. And if there's a video that we didn't make that you want, we'll make it for you.
This knowledge has made us well over $1 million, and it's available right now for $997. Click the link below.
Buy the course.
Yeah, I mean, you even still feel that today. If you're not improving every day, you feel like you're dying basically. If you're not learning more, if you're not doing more every day, I feel like I'm doing less. Which I get into the trap of working more hours will give me more benefits, but being more proficient in those hours is what's going to make you the most return, and just making sure you're organized in the hours you're actually working.
Were there some books that you listened to along the way that you feel like were like pretty impactful books? Because I was listening to, I was watching YouTube, watching Elliot Hulse every day. He said, turn your car into a library. I got into, I think How to Win Friends and Influence People was like the first book. And then one was called Be Happy. And then shortly after that was like Dakota is a big fan of Think and Grow Rich. He said that was kind of an interesting mind shift sort of book. Rich Dad Poor Dad, obviously.
Yeah. Rich Dad Poor Dad was the first book I ever read that got me thinking, oh, you don't just have to work for money. You can actually put it in places and it'll grow. And then, your book, what was it? Think and Grow Rich is a really good one. And then Ed Milet's new book is a lot like that, but it actually gives you actionable steps to benefit from that. But yeah, I definitely think Think and Grow Rich is big just because it's all a mindset, and you just have to get away from what the world has taught you about money, and if you change your reality, then you'll ultimately achieve whatever you're looking to do. But yeah, Rich Dad Poor Dad is the other one. Cash Flow Quadrant's a really good one. Those have been really good. And then all Bigger Pockets books, all Brandon Turner's, like How to Manage Rental Properties. That was one of the first books I read once I got that rental property, just to make sure I was doing everything myself as a property manager, which I've since then added a property manager to the portfolio. But
Nice.
Without those types of books, I don't think I would have been as easy to jump in. But that gave me the membership from them, and those books gave me like all the forms I needed, so I felt safe. Felt like I was giving out the right forms, just making sure I had all my T's crossed.
You were using some services to do some cold calling and that sort of thing, like external services, like a third party, and then you were hiring some people, and I think I encouraged you to hire some people. What mindset did it take you in order to be able to shift from that? Because you seem like the kind of person who would rather work hard, do it yourself, make sure that it's done right. Did you have to give up some control in order to put property management in place? Like, what did that look like?
Yeah, I still struggle with that, but yeah, definitely. I guess a property manager would be one of the first like hires in the business that I did, and just the fact that I could pay them such a small percentage of the rent and not have to deal with all the little things that not only didn't take a few hours out of my week, but just the stress of something happening and somebody calling me, I think ate up more hours than you really think about. And through that property manager, I've been able to release all that and not really have to worry about it, because they're going to get the calls either way. Not that that's ever been an issue, like actually getting the calls, but I think a lot of people think it takes up a lot of space in their head that if you just get that property manager, then you feel a lot better. And then we hired a project manager for our construction business a while back, and he's been really good. We hired two like a year ago, and I actually did a really bad job at managing them. We just put them straight on salary as soon as they got in, and I never really had any accountability for anything. So yeah, I failed on those two. But this new one we brought on like 9 months ago. He's been really good, and just been training him, being a better leader, making him feel better every day, and just making sure that we're on the same page is a big thing. And then my latest two, I've been 2 VAs, and they've been on the off-market side more. And they've been a giant help, saving me a ton of hours every week, just like on the social media side, on the off-market side, and just like daily tasks like invoicing, stuff like that. That's just saving me a ton of time. I just read Dan Martell's book, Buy Back Your Time, and I actually just listened to the Audible, but it was like a really good book. That's the best book I've read in a couple of years, but he just gives you lots of really good steps of dissecting what you're spending your week on, and then getting those smaller tasks that don't meet what you're making hourly, if you can figure that out, and just giving those to other people. But definitely my next thing is commission, like sales-based person that can help me grow, and make sure that they're successful. Because I don't love hourly just because I feel that it's a job. But when I can bring somebody on that's sales oriented and commission and wants to grow, that's when we can really scale, I feel like. So
you said you had your project manager on salary. What did you learn in between, moving them from salary to commission?
I was 21 and they were like 50, so they had a lot of experience, and he was really good, but I wanted to go towards a more investor mindset and systems oriented, and he was older fashioned and needed to be managed better, and I didn't have the capacity to even do that. So just creating tasks and accountability for your people is just really big, because everyone's going to get mixed up in the fog of the business. But if you have that task sheet and you're accountable for something, then you're going to make sure that gets done. So that's definitely something I've been trying to improve on.
So how did you get into the mindset then? We see a lot of landlords that are like, dude, why would you give up, we bring in $70,000. So we give up $7,000 a month in paying property managers. They're like, why would you give up that much money? That's a ton of money.
Before maintenance costs, before repairs, before, it's a flat fee, before any of the other like minimal stuff that pops up that people will call you in the middle of the night for, like a toilet, so we're paying the property management to answer the phones, but we're also paying for those repairs and maintenance. So
and the markup of it too, because like obviously they mark it up whenever they're doing it. But how do you get in the mindset of that, of like shifting from, all right, I'm gonna do it all myself? Because I feel like that's definitely very Midwest thinking of like, man, I gotta save the money. Mm-hmm. How do you get into the other thinking? Like, what made you make that shift? So
I'm a big numbers guy, so I like to think about, the numbers of the deal. So if you're losing 7,000 on that, and say that's taking up 10 hours of your week or something, 5 or 10, just getting into the sales side. So I'm a realtor. We do a lot of deals for out-of-state investors, stuff like that. But once I got into the realtor, I saw on a sale I'm making 4 times what I was making in 1 month on just one deal. So realizing that on one sale you can make so much more than that $7,000, and just realizing what your time's actually worth and how many deals you can get a week or how much you can manage in a week, you just realize numbers wise I can make a lot more than whatever that 10 or 5 hours is going into the management side. So just seeing that that's a lower hourly task, realizing that and seeing the numbers that you can produce, you see that would be a waste of time and is ultimately hurting your business. So
yeah, I like what else you said about it too, because like this is a thing that people don't think about that really does take a lot of like mental space. That's what you talked about, is your mental space that it takes up. When you have a tenant that's like the only reason that they contact you is because there's a problem, right? Mm-hmm. So then now you're dealing with these problems and you have to solve it. And sure, the time frame that it takes doesn't take very long, but like the amount of mental, like now it's another to-do list that you're already thinking about other things. Now you can't think about systems, anything like that.
Yeah, and I've realized a lot. In this business owner, you're a lot more of a therapist than I ever realized that I'd be. So just you got to focus on your team, and if I'm focusing on clients, that's something I can offset, because I'd go over there and hear about their life story and how hard it is, and you want to be sympathetic, but at the same time, you got to make sure you're doing what you're supposed to do. And I have a hard time not getting sympathetic. So outsourcing that is definitely something that saves a lot of headspace and time for sure.
Yep.
Yeah, emotional labor can be pretty taxing too. I mean, that's what you end up getting into more as you get further in business too, is like the person who's doing hard labor 9 to 5, that's physically exhausting. You get home, you feel spent, and you take like a hot bath and you're like, I just want to relax for the rest of the night. But when all of your work is thinking, a lot of it becomes mental and emotional, and so it's just taxing in a different way. Like after a while, it's just like, man, I can't deal with these.
Yeah, and that's a big thing with like working more hours every week is just if you're gonna work 80 hours a week and grind all the time, I feel like you're hurting yourself because you're really taxing your brain, and I think it needs a reset every week, at least. I always take Sundays off. I don't work on Sundays. But if I'm working, I grinded for a long time when I was doing the W-2 and then trying to flip a home or redo a house on the side, and I would just get burnt out. And by the end of the day, you're not looking for new deals. You're not making new connections, and you just realize you've got stuck in this circle of just grinding all the time and not actually making valuable connections or, deals. So that's a big thing.
You got married pretty young. How did you meet your significant other? Because you said you didn't.
We went to high school together.
But you didn't do junior or senior year.
Nah, we started dating senior year. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, how did you meet her then?
Well, I mean, I knew her we grew up together. So we had a small town, so it wasn't like I was still around with everybody. I played sports. So
she was like one of 5 people or something.
Yeah.
For you to choose
4.
from.
No. It was like 100, class of 100, I think. We were pretty big.
And then does your wife stay at home with your...
Yeah, so I got a 1-year-old boy. She stays home with them. And then we got another baby girl due in August. So that's exciting.
Good deal.
But yeah, I mean, yeah. She doesn't technically work, but I mean, the amount she does at home and the amount of headspace that she gives me when I get home and not having to worry about anything at the house pays for more than most jobs. So
what would you say... how would you say that your relationship's going, and like, do you have any advice for people relationship-wise, that sort of thing?
For marriage?
Yeah.
Nah, I mean, I'm pretty young, so I wouldn't say I have any sage advice, but just making sure you're there for them, I would say would be definitely some advice, and something that I've had to learn. I've always worked a ton of hours since I was young, and I had to realize that if I was going to have a family, I had to invest in that family, and I try not to work weekends now and spend the evenings with them and make sure that my headspace is actually with them, because it's hard to get away from the business. But getting rid of that fog of the business and making sure when I'm with them, I'm actually with them and not on my phone, it's just definitely something that I love, and it helps me every day just to refocus on what's important. So
awesome.
Did you set expectations with her? So, you talked about, she takes care of everything at home, and then you kind of run the business and everything, which I feel is like, very traditional. Did you guys actually have a verbal conversation of like, hey, this is my role, this is your role?
I don't know. Probably a little bit, but I mean, she's been with me since I started investing, so she's seen the whole journey, from when we had nothing to getting some properties, and from managing those properties to having more time with her. She's been with the grind with me the whole time, working her job. She worked as like a nurse tech for a while. And then she went to college for 3 years to be a nurse, and actually didn't finish her 4th year because we had the baby, and I needed help at home. So no really verbal agreement, but we know our roles in the family, and they work really well, and she loves what she does and I love what I do. And we just try and build a life that we can be together, more than most families. I feel like that's a big thing for me, is making sure when the kids get older, I have a lot more time for them than I know a lot of parents do.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any strategies to like help your wife continue to grow with you? Do you think she has any plans to like finish that last year, or do you think that she'll end up regretting it?
I don't think that she'll want to finish the last year, because our goal is to homeschool and then to basically, be able to go on trips whenever we want because they won't be in school. And I can do most of my work mobile. But we want to create a life where we can do what we want when we want. I mean, just like most people, but her being at home and keeping the household, down, and me being out and making sure that we're investing and making sure that we're good for the future, that's going to build something in the future that's going to be really good, and we'll be able to be pretty free with our time, be able to hang out with family, go on trips, bring family on trips, just all that.
It's important to celebrate along the way too. So I guess I'd encourage you guys just to like have one vacation a year or something.
That's
like
something
that.
I've definitely been trying to do as well. I think we went on like 2 vacations last year, which I never used to go on 2 vacations.
Nice.
And then we're probably going like 4 or 5 this year. Smaller, not like anything big, but definitely taking time and doing things with her and the family is big, I think.
Awesome. Well, what's your biggest struggle in your business right now?
I'd say biggest struggle. We're starting to get pretty good on the acquisition side, so bringing on somebody in that role will be big. We got my VAs are pretty good at figuring out the transaction coordinator side, so they're starting to take over that. And then I'm just our main acquisitions side, so definitely bringing on someone there so that I can make sure the business is still growing will be big. I'm letting a lot of leads slide through my fingers. I sat on the phone a couple of days ago and we got 2 deals locked up yesterday, but that's just from like no time even being put into it. So I know if we had somebody full time, it'd definitely scale pretty quick.
Do you have any CRMs or any tools or anything that helps you keep track of the deals?
So we've been using Asana a lot, which isn't a great CRM, but I also have Podio. So we're switching to Podio, but Asana's been pretty good for the lower amount of leads that we're bringing in, just because it creates that board and it's pretty good. But we're going to put it into Podio and start using their CRM a little bit.
You need to switch to RE Simply.
Yeah, I know.
Plug right here. RE Simply. Don't let your deals fall through the cracks. Don't be like Charlie in this aspect. RE Simply.
Yeah, I didn't even jump
I
on
think
that.
it's better than Podio. I mean, Podio supposedly has more things that you can build out and that sort of thing. And there are some bigger CRMs like, Salesforce is the most common one. That's also the most expensive. It's like the Mercedes-Benz of CRMs.
Mm-hmm.
But, like RE Simply is everything that you need, and it's specific to real estate. So
Yeah, I'll need to jump on that.
Consider
I will.
getting that one
I'll send
over
you a link.
Podio.
All right.
Plug done. Plug over.
Are you letting deals fall through the cracks because you don't have good systems in place?
We've been there before, and honestly, we've tried several different CRMs, and RE Simply has been the absolute best.
RE Simply tracks your KPIs, does automatic follow-ups for you, and even records incoming phone calls.
The system is very easy to use, and honestly, it has more features than we even know what to do with.
If you're looking for a great CRM, try RE Simply today.
Click the link in the description below.
Check it out now.
Well, what does your business look like in terms of monthly overhead and expenses? Because you've been scaling more now.
Yeah.
Are your costs going up too? Because you started doing texting more, you started doing some of these other things, and
Yeah.
are you getting stressed out about the amount of money that's going out now?
Yeah.
Because you're like, we're acquiring more property, and Dakota and I know from very recently that once you start acquiring too many properties, you need a lot more money, and you need people who you can sell the properties to, dispositions.
Yeah.
If you don't have all of the money that you need, you have to be able to wholesale them. So are you stressing out about the amount of money that's going out now? What's your monthly overhead look like?
Our monthly overhead isn't too bad. In the construction business, it's somewhere around like $7 or $8 grand, and then on the other property side, Orchard Capital, it's only like $2,500 or something. But I'm not paying myself out of that or anything. It's just more going into the company still.
A month?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And what are you going to? Is there ever going to be a time when you burn the ships of being a contractor and decide,
Yeah.
okay, we're done with that business. Now I'm only doing real estate, because you're still married to it. You got the shirt on. It says Columbus Construction Company. So.
Oh yeah. Hit us up if you're in Columbus.
Hit us up. We'll fix your house.
Like I said, I do a lot of bridges. I'm a realtor as well, so figuring out what I spend most of my time on right now is that Orchard Capital Group. But I said we can use my construction company for all those rehabs, and we have other investors that use us. So I think I have a good project manager in place right now, so making sure that's just stable as it is, and then putting most of my time into creating deal flow and setting up systems in Orchard Capital is what I'm looking at right now. So
good deal. Do you have a plan if things start to turn south, like banks start to kind of give out less money and like the market kind of starts to...
Yeah, well, I'm trying to refi too right now, waiting on a couple of things, but they're definitely getting stricter on a couple of things I've seen, especially with the seasoning period. I was talking to some commercial bank that went like 24 months or 36 months seasoning. What? Yeah, I'm like, is that normal? He's like, normally we're at 24. I'm like, that doesn't seem right either. But yeah,
I got a bank that'll help you. It's Van Wert Savings or something like that. They'll help you
in Ohio.
Yeah, you got a guy.
Yeah,
nice.
Yeah, they'll be good.
But yeah, I mean, if they did, like, banks just shut down or something and you couldn't get long-term loans, I mean, you still have the deal flow for wholesaling it to other people and making value better. And I mean, there's definitely different ways to make money in what we're doing, whether that's wholesale, selling for other people, or fixing and flipping. We do a lot of. So
what is your long-term vision? What's your long-term dream? Are you trying to just like ride off into the sunset, be completely retired in 5 years at the ripe age of 27 then?
Yeah, no.
You trying to be retired before us?
I don't really see a retirement, but creating a business that can function without me and just being able to focus on growing that and connections is what I want to get to. So there's not like a retirement number that I'm trying to get to. It's just about building out the portfolio, building out the team so that it's more fun. And that would ultimately cause less stress and still bring on money. And I feel like it's a game once you get to a certain level. And once you build a good business up, you have people in there you like what you guys have built. It's a lot more fun then. And that's what I'm hoping to get to real soon. So
more fun is a relative term. I'll say that.
It's true.
It's yeah, I've talked about this on other podcasts before, but it's more responsibility, which like kind of like you think you're going to have more time freedom the more people you have, which that's why we were talking, before the show about Ryan Pineda and how he's able to like seemingly be in the business at all. And I'm like, dude, I don't know how he does that, because like it's not been my experience all the way. I mean, I don't know how you feel, but it feels like we're like really far in it. And it's like, if we just pulled out, it just doesn't seem like it goes by itself. And like, maybe that's bad management, maybe it's bad leadership, but it seems like it's more responsibility the more people you bring on too. So it is an interesting dilemma.
Would you guys just say you're both visionaries, or is one of you an integrator?
I think we share that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we probably have
both.
I
would say you would both be visionaries, and an integrator is what would help you get to his spot. I mean, that's what he did, bringing on like Brian Davila and them. And I think getting that good integrator is what would really separate like everybody's business, mine too.
I've seen Brian Davila around the office. He basically just walks around and asks everybody if they've got a plan.
True.
He's ultimately responsible for everybody, but he's basically just walking around being like, hey, what's the plan on that? And they're like, I don't have one. He's like, get a plan by Friday.
Yeah. Accountability.
I want to see all you need, I guess.
I want to see your plan.
That's all you need, I guess. Just maybe I need to stop giving so much direction. They're like, well, how do I do it? All right, well, here you go. And then they're just like, oh, figure it out.
Yeah.
But then it might be a me issue, because it is like, maybe it's like, well, here's the way to do it to maximize. And then I'm always looking at the strategy and the way to make the most money, to get the most profit, the best way to structure the deal, which is sometimes subjective, but it's based on a lot of information too. So
I mean, there's such a leaning point there. You can either be too aggressive and be telling them what to do, or you can stop telling what them do and think you're helping them, but then they're not growing at all. So there's a really small area, I think, that I'm not even close to, but that keeps the accountability, keeps the pressure on, but also is like, you figure it out and get it done. And
that is kind of funny too, because I'm thinking about how, if somebody came to Brian and was like, hey, how do I do this? He'd be like, I don't know, man. Go ask. And he just like points them to like, go ask Monty and go ask Sean Bob. If you talk to Sean Bob and Monty, I don't remember.
Well, that's
Honestly, I don't know.
I mean, that's what I've been doing a lot too. Of like, whenever they're asking for help, I'm like, well, go talk to this person. Go talk to this person. Like, I want to get them to stop asking me and start figuring it out themselves. And then, like, amongst the team, they should be able to figure it out.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I guess Brian's on to something here. Shout out to Brian Davila. He's on to something.
Yeah. Who
The
not
less
how.
you know, the
Yep.
more empowered your people will be.
I think Brian knows more than he leads off to.
Oh,
That's
yeah,
the
for
funny-
sure.
That's the funniest part about Brian. He acts as if he doesn't know anything, and then like he's like, well, I don't know. What do you think about, like, he asks you, what do you think about this? And then you tell him, he's like, well, I was thinking about this, and it's like way more elaborate. I'm like, that would probably work too.
Well, is there anything else you want to ask Charlie before we get into the ending questions?
What's your net worth?
My net worth? Does everybody answer that? Let's come back to it in
Do you
a couple
know?
years. Yeah, it just crossed a million points. So.
Us
You
on the
did?
spreadsheet?
So I'm at like three some small threes in debt, and it's like 1 million.
Let's go, dude. So you just became a millionaire?
Yeah, well, yeah.
Let's go. That's
Well-
freaking awesome. That was a good question to ask then, right? When you hit to $1 million at 22, that's insane, dude.
Yeah.
That's gonna be the title now because Charlie's most resistant to it. It's gonna be like millionaire millionaire by 22.
Explain to everybody what a millionaire is and what you talk about.
That's
debt.
why he doesn't want to refinance.
Because he doesn't want to lose his
Yeah,
money.
he doesn't want to lose his million.
No, that's a
doesn't
add
actually-
on to it.
Yeah, it doesn't
I didn't
actually
put that
affect
one
it.
in.
All right, tell everybody what a millionaire is, because everybody thinks obviously millionaire means $1 million in the bank. When you're actually a millionaire, you really understand what a millionaire means.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, money.
Go over your, like, all right, what do you got? Debt. What's your assets?
So it's like 3.2 in debt, and then have, I think it's somewhere around 65 or 66%. What is that?
Loan to value.
Yeah, loan to value. So that puts you at like the $1 million point. And that's 6 properties and 15 or 16 units right there. And those are all long-term rentals. And then obviously you got the 2 businesses that I haven't really thought about, but just in the rental properties, that's what I track mostly. And that's where that $1 million is.
You know
That's
what?
awesome.
You know what your business is netted
Well, my business nets,
between your 2 businesses.
the Orchard Capital is pretty new, like January. So I don't have a good idea what that is. But the construction company, we did $2 million last year in our first year. And I think it was pretty small. It was like 20%, 25%.
Nice.
So net. So
That's exciting.
Yeah, and usually, you know, it depends on if somebody believes that they could just purchase your business and make it better immediately, because most people aren't going to buy a business unless they see like some things that they could improve. But for folks who buy businesses, you know, typically they want a 10 cap or better. So if you take that, you know, 2 million, if you say you could produce that consistently next year and like the year after that, you could take that number and then just on a 10 cap, like that's a $20 million valuation on your companies.
Yeah.
So don't they go off net though? Would they go off net or gross?
I think they go on
He's talking
gross.
Oh, really?
I
don't
think
know.
they go after.
I mean, like big companies who buy.
I thought
he
he
said
said
he
2 million
made-
net.
No, he said
No,
he said 20% profit off of 2 million. So
Oh,
he's
okay.
netting somewhere around
So
400 to
$4
500.
million business
Yeah.
Yep.
on a 10 cap.
Yeah, but I like looking at real estate as a business, and that I like real estate more, but definitely growing a business is something people are starting to do a lot, and I think there's a lot of ways to make a lot of money there.
Yeah.
But I just have a passion for real estate, so I like growing that and thinking as each building is its own business and what it returns.
Do you have any interest in getting into influence, like being more of a social media influencer, and like, are you going to start your own podcast now that you've been on this one?
Probably
Are you-
won't start a podcast. Not yeah, I need to work on my social media. Probably won't be an influencer, but I think it's a great way for people to learn about who you are and what you do. So definitely trying to grow my social media in that way. I'm not gonna, probably won't be an influencer, but I think that's definitely how people look. That's your new business card. So making sure you have something on there and making sure it shows off who you actually are is a big thing. I get caught up with a lot of people that are social media influencers per se and aren't who they say they are. So
Yeah, you just got to do it for clout, man. You used to be like, yo, this is the shy dog. What's up? Like,
or when you say you met people, what do you mean by that? Like you met them and then like you thought they were a certain way and then they turned out.
Yeah, I mean, events, a lot of people, act like they're doing a lot more in the space, and then you meet them and they're not doing anything, and
that's so
they got
fun.
all these issues, and you're just like,
That's awesome. I'm glad you said that because, we have somebody else that does that and it bothers the crap out of me. And I'm like, this is weird.
Yeah. I mean, it shouldn't bother me, but I feel like you're giving off a fake portrayal of who you actually are. And I think that's what ruins social media for everyone. I don't really like social media for that thing. If everybody was who they actually are, that'd be cool. But I feel like most of them are not who they say they are.
That's what I always told Andrew as well. Is like, dude, here's what I can tell you. Like, Andrew is funny. So Andrew's our acquisitions guy. He was 19 years old when he started. He thought we were millionaires when we started. I'm like, bro, we're not millionaires. And we never said we were. Like, we wouldn't even say that we were close or anything like that. And then I told him everything that we say on social media is accurate is the information that we have. Like, if we're off, it's because we typed something in wrong or something like that. But like, we will only give accurate information. Like even I feel like even Grant Cardone kind of swings it in a way that like he's not lying, but he's saying it in a way that makes it sound better than what it actually is.
Grant Cardone's a beast.
Yeah.
But yeah, sure. I mean, there's a medium between showing people who you want to be, and that's how you grow. Mm-hmm. And then there's another thing about, making up numbers and like saying you're some millionaire when you're not.
Yeah.
When you got $3 million in debt and you can only have like $100,000 in equity, you're like, okay.
Like, who else do you know that has $20 billion portfolio? It's like, he doesn't even own all of that $20 billion portfolio,
Yep. So what do you don't agree with the fake it till you make it?
I think there's that medium in it. I think you can, if you're actually striving to be that way, then yeah, it's cool. But I mean, make sure that everything you're saying is accurate and you're not deceiving people on what you're doing.
I think that's the most difficult part about it, and why I think people like you need to get into it more is because like we need more real people who are actually going to tell the numbers. Because that's the funny thing too is when you get to a certain level as well, like with you, with Ryan Pineda, with us, whenever we share the numbers, people think that we're sharing to brag. And it's like, no, we're sharing to educate you guys, to actually let you know the legitimacy of this, that it's possible for you. Yeah. And all these other people who are saying this stuff that you think are doing these big things, that are acting like they're doing big things, that kind of turn the frame in order to make sure that it looks like they're this big deal. They're not actually netting that much. And so I think people like you could go out there and actually help these people, like, okay, here's how it actually works. Here's how much I actually made. Here's what you are actually capable of if you choose to do it. And here's how I did it.
Yeah. No, I think that's really important, but definitely like you said, I do, my mindset's poor, but I think about what people think of me as if I was breaking down numbers on the investments that I have, just even if they weren't good, I just feel like people who don't have that mindset are like, oh, he's just being cocky and saying this, when you're actually trying to show them there's a different way and that they don't have to be unhappy and stuck in a job.
Alex Hormozy just explained a concept not too long ago, and I think it's something that you do a lot, Dakota, where, the thing used to be to say, this is how you can make XYZ. And instead he's more like, okay, so this is how I recently did this thing. And so then he breaks it down like that. I mean, Alex Hormozy always sounds more convincing because he's like, okay, this is how I sold 2 companies for a total of $100 million before the age of 29. That's how his starts. But he's always giving examples of things that he's done and how he's seen it, manifest in results in his physical health or his business and things like that.
Yeah, I'd say he's bringing it back in a good way, but I think there was a time there that everybody was showing, fake cars and fake buildings, and that ruined it for a lot of people. But I think it's it's back up. Social media will be good soon, and I think, like Dakota said, more normal people need to get out there and actually show their true selves and what they're doing.
There was another thing you shared too, where he was like, you can either, like, you have 2 options. You can either show everybody that you're doing well by like buying all of the cars and buying all of the houses and going on all the vacations and posting all over social media, or you can control your time and have a lot more freedom and you can brag about that. But like you can't do both and build a company. Like you can't have all of the cars and all of the
The biggest local guys that I know, none of them have social media, which is one thing where I'm like, guys, I don't need a social media. But it would help you if you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. But it's funny because the guys that everybody thinks is doing big stuff, they're not doing anything compared to people, like the few people that I know that don't have a social media and aren't showing what they're doing. But
here's the question.
Yeah.
Would they be doing more if
they
did?
So for sure would. That's the thing where like more normal people need to be doing it and showing what they're actually doing, because they could do way more if they were showing it. But the people who aren't doing it and are just lying are giving everybody a bad rap.
Yeah, so there's a seminar that we went to that actually helped us a lot with that belief that I think that a lot of people struggle with, that it sounds like you may struggle with. Of like, man, I want to help people, but I'm also scared of other people judging me. And so this seminar, I don't know if Tony's talked about it all. I'm sure he has. PSI, but it's SI seminars. Basically, you just go through just different social experiments to teach you more about yourself. And then they just help you with different concepts and stuff. I would highly recommend that you go to that if you can. It's a game changer. You talk about education. This is educating you on how you are as a person, your limiting beliefs, your different habits, all of that stuff. What you do and how you can, I mean, our friend Jimmy always says you basically have to be aware of the problem before you can ever change it.
Awareness before change.
Yes,
ABCs.
awareness before change. So you have to have awareness before change. What this does is makes you aware of like what you're not even aware of now, and then you can actually change it if you choose to. So if you can come to that, that'd be awesome. And then the second one, which is size 7, that'd be the one that I think would be a game changer for you, man. Like you're a millionaire now, you're already going to be a multimillionaire soon. This will change your trajectory from like here to here. Like it'll be a game changer for you if you can change the mindset of like, I'm gonna go out there and I'm gonna help people regardless of how many people think that I'm out there to brag or whatever. It'll be I just know it'll be a game changer for you. So if you can make that, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, where's it at?
There's gonna be one in Fort Wayne. Yep. So we bring it.
I think I've told you about it, or I've mentioned it before, as like some of the things that we use to train the folks around here. Like the majority of people who work for us have been through it. And it's just like, it's massive awareness, sort of like the red pill in the Matrix, where like after you see some stuff about yourself, you can never unsee it, but it's a really positive thing too.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah, so it's July 28th, 29th, and 30th. I saw Tony write it down.
It's like $600 bucks.
Yeah, that one's $600. That is the best bang for your buck. The next one's a little bit more expensive, but that one's even more bang for your buck and will last you a lifetime. So it's better to get to it. Like, dude, if you can get there now, and then like I'm telling you, it'll change the trajectory of your life. Like it's, in my opinion, it's basically guaranteed, and it is guaranteed because if it doesn't, then you get your money back. And this is a seminar that Tony and I went to in Canada 4 years ago, and it like impacted our life so much. It's like, all right, we got to bring this to Fort Wayne.
That's awesome. Yeah,
So-
I'll definitely have to do it.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Last question. Ed Milet's asked this one before, so if you mentioned Ed Milet's podcast, you know, it's your legacy. What do you want your legacy to be? So you're on your deathbed. You have one final message to the world, a sentence, a paragraph, something that means something to you. Could be on a billboard. It could be a book. Be like the title of your book, and it's a message that is unique, that says that when people look at it, they're like, oh yeah, that was Charlie Scheider for sure.
Yeah, that's a deep one for sure. So a legacy or something on a billboard.
Final message to the world.
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely say I don't know what everybody is, but I'm a Christian, so I would definitely make sure that you're ready for, you know, wherever you're going in eternity. Make sure you're the right choice there. But for everyone in this world living life, I would just make sure that you're spending your time with the people that you love, and just making sure that, you know, you value your time and that you're not wasting time working at a job or spending time with people who don't care about you, and just, you know, spend time with the family. That's a really big part of my life, and with your friends and family, and make sure that the relationships closest to you are the ones you're working on, because you have the most influence on them. So, yeah.
Awesome. So if anybody's in the Columbus, Ohio area, they want some construction done, how do they get a hold of you?
You can email me, go on my Instagram at Charlie Scheider. That has a couple links to our websites, has all our contact info. I'm on LinkedIn, Facebook. So
Instagram?
Yeah, Instagram.
Good.
Columbus Construction Company. And then what about if somebody wants to sell their house? Those sorts of things.
I'm a broker, or I'm an agent for Roby Realty, so that's on. A link to that is on my Instagram as well. But yeah, I mostly work with investors, out-of-state investors, or home buyers. I think we've done like 29 transactions in the past couple of years, so it's been like 7 million. So,
any final thoughts you want to share with our viewers?
No, just let me know if you're in Columbus or if you want to do deals.
Sounds good. Thanks for coming on, man.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Yeah, if you guys are not following this guy, you definitely need to be, because it's pretty obvious to me that you're going to be a multi-millionaire here soon, and it'll be exciting to see your journey, especially if you go to the Size 7 thing and you start sharing some information. I think that people can gain a lot of value from somebody with so much wisdom for so young too, you know? Like the mindset that I think that you have, I don't think that everybody realizes that. So follow this guy, and we'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.